Here in the studio with us is our health reporter Katie Silva, and from LA is Alice Benjamin, a clinical nurse specialist who treats many African Americans with diabetes. Good to have you both with us. Katie, firstly, run through what the researchers found.
Okay, so what they did was they took 160,000 people from around the world with type 2 diabetes, and they looked at basically how their genetic variants affect the efficacy of this one particular test. And what they found was that there were 60 genetic variants which could impact whether or not this test was effective in telling you whether or not you had diabetes. Now, one of these variants was unique, almost unique, as you were saying, to African Americans. And what that can mean is that basically it exists in 11% of African Americans. And if they're being tested using only this test, in the US, 650,000 African Americans could not be diagnosed with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, when they have it.
Well, that's huge implications then. Alice, tell us about the community that you treat. How prolific and common is type 2 diabetes?
Well, type 2 is very common. So here in the United States, over 100 million people either have diabetes or pre-diabetes. So it's something that's very significant. Now, what's key with the information from this genetic study is that if we know that African Americans have the G6PD genetic variant, it's going to be very important when it comes to testing, because there are a variety of ways to diagnose someone with diabetes. But if we know this information, then we can bypass the tests that aren't applicable and will misdiagnose them. So it's just a matter of healthcare providers knowing this information and making sure that they take the appropriate testing for African Americans.
Alice, thanks for joining us from LA. Katie, thanks for explaining that for us. Good to have you with us too here on GMT. Don't forget you can reach me on Twitter. I'm Lucy Hawkins, BBC. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.